I literally still can't believe it. So National Grazing Lands reached out to me in, I think it was just a couple months back, and said, we'd like to have you as a speaker at our national conference. I just got a call.
Oh, no.
National Grazing Lands. They're having a big conference in December. Right? I'm gonna die. And I was through the roof excited, and I am actually not able to be there in person to give my presentation, but they allowed me to submit a video to be played there in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina in December. So what you guys are getting ready to watch is a summation of the past 18 months as I launched my micro ranch and I carried through on some of the business plans that I set at the startup phase. Now I have to just put up this thing up front in that you're getting ready to watch this, and it's gonna look like there was a lot of deliberate, purposeful thought going into this journey. And while I did try to think it through and be wise with what I was given, at the onset of this journey I knew I had to do something. I knew I had to do this, and it didn't make any sense to me. It didn't make any sense to my family. And my sole occupation right now is retail management in the fashion industry. That's what my bread and butter is, and that's what it has been for the past 10 years. So when I said I want to raise cows and I want to make money at it, it didn't make sense. And so as I was putting together this video, I just kind of wanted to give God the glory in that sense, and that He put this desire in my heart, and He led me through doors as they opened. And sometimes I had to relinquish what were my ideals for a better route. And that was, you'll see that upcoming with just trading my species of choice from beef and transitioning to sheep, because it's far and above more profitable, and I'm going to touch on that and exactly why. Because I had worked for 4 years to really ignore sheep. I absolutely did not want anything to do with sheep. But as the Lord kind of softened my heart to take what He had to give, and that was the sheep that were rapidly recovering under this grazing management, He opened my heart to really a love for this animal and the opportunity to actually profit off of them. So I think I've rambled enough, but I wanted to put in this little precursor for the longtime faithful followers of this channel before I roll into the micro ranching for profit mini documentary. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this journey. I would really appreciate a thumbs up, and I really appreciate each and every one of you who have really come alongside me in the past 18 months and shared really my joys and my sorrows, and it's overwhelming, but it overwhelms me with gratitude. So thank you guys so much, and I hope you enjoy micro ranching for profit sheep on 23 acres. If we can start small, with 3 cows on 10 acres, or 20 sheep on 15 acres, learn small, lose small, and reconnect with the land on a small scale, it will create, I believe, a bridge in the gap that exists right here and right now between my generation and the land. because I believe the solution is not 1,000 big ones, but 100,000 or 1 million small ones. Alright, hello National Grazing Lands Conference attendees. That was really long. My name is Grace, and I am known as the Shepherdess at Harmony Farms. I am running a small-scale ranching for profit operation, which I am labeling a micro ranch. What you're getting ready to see is really a culmination of my journey from day one, and this journey is something I have been documenting through YouTube and through video. This video walks you through the infancy phase of my micro ranch startup and really where my ideas were here, and I had to narrow them down to some kind of profitability plan. I also outline how I pivoted from beef cattle to sheep, exactly why I did that, as well as how I am marketing my ranch and my ranch products, my livestock, in order to generate revenue on a small scale. Getting ready to roll this journey from day one in hopes that it will encourage you in whatever your agricultural calling is. This is the big moment.
About to make the leap into form.
I haven't really confessed it to anyone, but I haven't owned anything larger than a hamster in my entire life. This is all new to me. Becoming a farmer in 180 days. This is a journey from zero to livestock management in 6 months. So 6 months ago, with absolutely no prior experience, I decided I want to raise beef cattle for a profit. Now my background is in business marketing and retail management, so the profit end of it wasn't so scary to me as the beef cattle end of it. But I wanted to share this story with you today, because 6 months later, I am seeing how this may have been something building into a greater and bigger picture. So at the onset of this journey, I had 3 major resources to get me from absolute nothingness in the realm of education in this sphere. One was a friend who, she runs a few cow-calf pairs. And then the second one was a local rancher. And then the third one was a book that I picked up very early on. It was called Salad Bar Beef by Joel Salatin, and it was actually that book that got me thinking more regeneratively. It sort of showed me that raising beef cattle can be a real two-edged sword with respect to regenerating your land base and creating a product that is healthy and good for people. So as I sort of got into reading that book, I went to that same rancher for a second time, and instead of asking 1,000,001 questions about cows, I began asking questions about grasses, how they grew, and sort of the forage system in general. And he looked at me at that point and he said, if you can get a handle on this particular element of the system, if you can shift your focus to what's going on underneath your feet, you're going to have an advantage in this industry. He says to be a cowboy or a cowgirl without serious consideration of the forage system is kind of like looking at a forest without considering the trees. And at that point I was like, okay, this is it. About the time my focus shifted to pasture management over animal management, I kind of realized that a lot that I was reading about cows could be translated into sheep. And at that point in time, the family farm had a flock of purebred Dorper sheep, and it was really suffering. We made some mistakes up front with respect to worming, which had put our flock into a state of resistance to the conventional worming methods. They were, at that time, overtaken by things like bottlejaw, coccidia, barber poleworm, and just didn't look like they were going to last much longer. So as I realized that I could probably manage sheep in the same way that I was planning to manage the cows, I made a pasture plan to begin rotating the sheep, sort of just as a means of practice before I jumped off and made my big investment. To be honest, I was sort of nervous about managing livestock with no previous experience, and I thought, well, if I can get the sheep into some type of pasture rotation, I can at least see if I can manage it, and then if it'll be sort of a viable option for the cows oncoming. Well, we began the pasture rotation in August, and we began rotating every 2 days, and within 8 weeks, the health of the flock had turned a complete 180. Ewes that we expected to die within days didn't die, and it was absolutely unbelievable. Now, at this point in time, we are still conventionally worming, but it's absolutely incredible to watch the transformation that kind of took place with a little bit of pasture management injected into our farming system. Something that I heard said was that if you take care of your systems in a way that benefits your land base, the health of your animals will naturally follow. And while I'm still at the absolute beginning phases of this, I saw a little bit of that with the sheep. So now instead of, being at a place where we're looking at how to bury 30 sheep, we're actually looking at potentially being profitable with our flock here. In a lot of ways, if you boil down profitability, it's taking a resource and converting it into a product that appeals to the masses. And to put that in the context of what I'm doing here, if I can take a resource that I have, which is sunlight and well-managed grasslands, and convert it into a gourmet grass-fed beef or lamb, which is in high demand, that can be a very profitable situation. And at the risk of sounding too idealistic, I do realize there are risks. And not everything goes perfectly, but what business does not involve risk? So as that presented there, I initially launched with a beef cattle dream. But as I really sat down and put pencil to paper and thought, okay, how am I going to take this 20, 30 acres that I have and really generate a sizable revenue? I did that with beef, and I just couldn't do it. So I decided to go at it from another angle, and that was with sheep. And that was primarily because I was working with the flock and seeing such a great improvement with them through this grazing management. And as I penciled out a business plan with sheep, it began to look a lot more possible as far as making a business out of this 23 acres. Two primary reasons were this. For my sheep, I had more markets. And those markets were giving a better price, whether it be through meat or just a live animal, than beef. And that was by far, and that is by far, and the trend, I believe, for small ruminants is only on the upswing. Number two is this, and that is a good, sound ewe can wean her body weight equivalent in offspring in the course of 1 year. And a beef cattle can only do half of that. In practical measure, this is what it looks like. Carrying 3,000 pounds worth of live sheep on my property, I will have 3,000 pounds worth of sellable sheep or lambs in the course of 1 year. Whereas with my beef cattle, I would only have 1,500 pounds. Now all of that given the fact that sheep are going at about $3 per pound USDA price, and a high quality beef steer is only going for around $170 to $190 per pound. Kind of a no-brainer. Now my business model does not involve sale barns. I am going direct to consumer with both my breeding stock and my meat. But those are the broad spectrum considerations I made as I shifted my focus from beef to sheep for my micro ranch. Some of the dilemmas facing us were not immediately apparent to me at the onset, but as I journeyed through this process of pursuing really a vision that I believe the Lord put in my heart, I uncovered some really concerning statistics related to agriculture and the time we are in right here and right now. In fact, this moment in time, I believe, is a make or break moment for American agriculture. And while that statement is confined to America itself, I believe this is a worldwide issue. And the need for individuals to undertake responsibility in agriculture on a small scale, on a local level, is imminent. And here's why. Before 1940, 45% of our nation's food was grown in backyards. 4 companies control 80% of our nation's beef supply. The average age of an American farmer is 64 years old. The planet loses 24 billion tons of soil to erosion every year. Today's food shortages will come and go, but one day they will be here to stay, and these tremors cannot be ignored. It's time to farm or find your local farmer before your life depends on it.
Company Chairman John Tyson writing the food supply chain is breaking.
Agriculture is really being tested in ways that it hasn't been since World War II.
It's signs that a critical link in the nation's food supply chain might be cracking, saying the food supply chain is breaking.
It really brought Americans face to face with the reality of the industrialized meat system that we depend on every day for our food.
We are facing a crisis. Humans who depend upon the land for their food are moving farther and farther away from it. In the 1940s, 45% of the food our nation consumed was grown in backyards. And now we don't even know how to plant a seed and bring it to a fruit that is edible. And we are coming upon a time and place when we may not even have the soil to grow healthy food in. 24 billion tons of soil is lost to erosion across the globe every single year. The United States relies on crops that cannot grow unless they are bathed in chemicals and sustained by genetically modified organisms. 80% of the nation's beef is controlled by 4 companies, and we have seen on several occasions, whether it be through national emergencies or cyber attacks from foreign entities, how that in a moment these supply chains can be shut down. We unfortunately as a nation have come to rely on cheap food. We no longer understand the value of the groceries we bring into our home every day. Less than 60 years ago, a major portion of household income was spent on the food we eat. Now, a major portion of household income is spent on healthcare and curing the symptoms of cheap food. In fact, poor diets are linked to $50 billion in U.S. healthcare costs on an annual basis. The crisis has been revealed, and I believe each and every one of us has the ability to be a solution on one scale or another. But we also have to be realistic. I am in my upper 20s and I still need to make an income for myself. I still need to make a living. So my primary goal in this small-scale agricultural enterprise was profitability. And for me, on a small scale with sheep on 23 acres, it took a little bit of creativity to carve out the possibility for profitability in my operation. I am going to be painting a broad picture as far as my marketing plan, the products that I'm selling off my farm, where I plan to sell them, and even some unique angles I am taking as a small farmer in a modern world. So let's just get straight to it, straight from the top. And the first one is defining my product, sheep. And most obviously, meat being the ultimate product. My sheep are Dorper sheep. It's a hair breed bred for producing excellent quality meat on a grass-based system. They don't produce wool. They're not meant for milk. Meat is the final product. However, I am diversifying my sales opportunities within this one category, which is sheep. Second way I have done that is breeding stock. My flock is full blood Dorper, which is extremely difficult to find. So that is diversification number 2. And diversification number 3 involves my previous experience in marketing and content creation. This third category is education and entertainment. And while not everybody can diversify by creating educational or entertaining content, I'm going to give you another example. There was a man, he became a farmer from a background in architecture. He designed a chicken coop that solved problems for him and began selling plans for that coop for $20 each. He used his previous occupation, his previous skill set to create a creative income stream. Another example is my very own sister. She runs chickens. She sells breeding stock, but she is also an artist. And from her farm, from our farm, she creates pieces of artwork inspired by our farm animals, and she sells those, creating for herself a unique income stream. If we even look at the world's most famous farmer, Joel Salatin, he is an author, he is a speaker, he is a tour guide. So I want to encourage you guys in this third way to diversify with a unique income stream for your farm. And I believe everybody has a skill set, a unique skill set, and a unique way to create this diverse option. Because the reality is we are in a time where small-scale farming is more needful than ever before. I believe it with all my heart. And we are also living in a time when we as small farmers need to be more creative than ever before if we are setting out to make this an occupation. Any smart business person diversifies his portfolio. And as small farmers and entrepreneurs in that field, we also need to be thinking in those ways. So these are my 3 diversified products from my sheep operation. The meat products, the breeding stock products, and the educational and entertainment products are 3 entirely different classes. However, in my marketing, there is one consistent element that crosses all of these categories, and that is a website. And I worked to get my website set up almost immediately. Go to shepherdessfoods.com, and that is where my meat products will be sold. For my breeding stock, I am using not only a website, but I'm also using things like Facebook groups, Instagram, anywhere I can tell people I am selling breeding stock, Dorper sheep, full blood, available now, buy. I'm putting it there. It's kind of a blanketing method, and the moment that I see any of those specific angles gaining momentum, I press hard into them. So be mindful of that. You might have to blanket for a while, but the minute that you see one of those venues has momentum, push in on it till you find that customer. The education and entertainment realm, farmontheweb.com, as well as the YouTube video that you are watching right now. Those are my platforms for those specific products. Also have a blog and a newsletter for all of these things. Like I said, I'm doing a ton, but those are my places. Those are my major places. Social media, newsletters, websites, and obviously the in-person opportunities like farmers markets and so forth. And that's the beauty of having a diverse array of streams and ways in which you can sell your product, because if you get a glitch on any one of these three, it's fine. It's like crop insurance. So think of it in that way, and think of those diversified income streams and diversified sales streams really as insurance, and try to build up as many as you can. Promotion. And I'm going to state the rule of sevens, and that is that a customer or potential client must be exposed to your product or service on an average of 7 times before they will make that purchase. So in my promotion, I am doing things like sending out newsletters, posting on Facebook and Instagram, running Craigslist ads, listing products on my e-commerce website, blogging with Google search engine optimization in mind, working to build my site in such a way that I become #1 when people search Dorper sheep breeding stock in Texas. That and a variety of other things that are working together to create those 7 interactions so that I can seal that deal and gain that customer. And I'm so thrilled, and praise the Lord, just 9 months after buying my first livestock, I held my first livestock sale. I sold my 2020 lamb crop at shepherdessdorpers.com, and I sold them on the internet. I sold 100% of what I had to offer and then some, as I sold a few ewes out of my flock in addition to that lamb crop. But I used all of the marketing methods that I mentioned right here in this presentation. And it was a microcosm of what I hope and plan to do on a large scale into the future as I market my products direct to consumer, whether it's the continuation of offering breeding stock or the launch of a premium meat product. I was able to facilitate all of my long-range, large-scale goals in sales and marketing on a micro scale. Now I have to confess, I started out 1 year and 6 months ago, a little bit naive. In fact, over the course of this 1 year and 6 months, I have encountered situations that have knocked me off my feet. Disappointments that have been staggering, and painful stresses that have made me think there is no amount of money in the world that will make this job worth it. But also, in the course of that time, I developed a true love for this work. I was contemplating the other day, what is love? And when people say, you've got to love this work, what do they really mean? And the other day I sat down and I thought, loving something means that you are willing to give it more than you'll ever get out of it. And so over the course of this 1 year and 6 months, I've had to time and again reground myself in that reality, that this is a calling, and that my love for this work involves giving it maybe more than I'll ever get out of it. And that is truly where you have to stand. If we can start small, with 3 cows on 10 acres, or 20 sheep on 15 acres, learn small, lose small, and reconnect with the land on a small scale, it will create, I believe, a bridge in the gap that exists right here and right now between my generation and the land. Because I believe the solution is not 1,000 big ones, but 100,000 or 1 million small ones.